My name is Akshat Kumar. I work as a test consultant, primarily in quality assurance, test management, and test automation. And over 1.5 decades, I have served as developer, QA lead, and manager working with tech giants like DocuSign, Hewlett Packard, EMC, and agile startups like Aditi Technology and Seal Software. Today, I work as a consultant at Emerson, and I am also an author of techbrewhub.com, where I pen down my thoughts and my learnings on tech management and career, offering a wealth of valuable information and resources to my reader.
As a leader, how do you navigate working with change?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a tough one. I was thinking about this. So, what's more important as a leader? And when I say leader, let me just set the right context. A leader can be a person in management, because management does get a lot of benefits from a personality trait like leadership, but also in engineering. And I think it's a challenge when a leader is set, forward or in front of a change, how to navigate that. And one thing that is important is trade-off. How do you get a buy-in time to understand the scope of the change and identifying the limitations that you have, and how do you deal with that delta? That's very important. And once you figure this out, working in collaboration with people who are expert in the area that the change has been brought in, it's important to set a clear communication and an early communication, so that people understand what they're getting, what they're driving towards, and they get a head start. It also is important that during the change, a lot of things might change. A change in skill set, a change in expectations, the change in goal can happen, and that deviates a lot of people from their path. And the leaders, in fact, in this time, should basically play that role of bringing people together and streamlining their goals and expectations towards this change. I think that is very important from my point of view.
What has been the biggest challenge that you've faced as a leader?
I think the changes in the responsibility was a big shift and a big challenge, because I mostly come from an engineering background. I have spent around 1.5 decades of working as an individual contributor. Like I said, I served as a developer, I served as a QA lead. I have got my hands dirty. I know the intricacies of the system. That's where my most interest was. And when I moved to a managerial position in my previous job, it was very difficult to identify what exactly should I do so that I can help my team doing better. As an individual contributor, you don't have a lot of responsibility dealing with people. And I felt that most easiest is to deal with systems, because it's pure calculations. But when it comes to an actual active collaboration between people and nurturing that, bringing people together, fostering a culture of ownership, fostering a culture of trust, making sure that you have an environment which is safe for your people to work and do better in their job. These things were the biggest challenge for me to identify, and I got completely lost, to be honest, for my first few months. And here I seek a lot of support from the people who has helped me climbing that ladder. So that was the biggest challenge, and I felt that it's practice. It doesn't come from just reading books or attending courses or doing a certification. It only comes from practice. And the more you practice problem framing, more you practice identifying tangible goals, more you practice decision making, the better it gets. So and it's a natural process. It takes time. All you have to do is believe in yourself, trust the process, and give yourself enough time, because it's not being a manager, for example, or any change is not a sprint. It's a long marathon, and that's what I have learned from my experience.
What advice would you give to a junior leader?
Well, this is coming from my experience. The mistakes that I think I have done, and the times when I have improved. I think the first thing and the biggest challenge is when a junior leader, be it in engineering or be it in management, the things that the junior leaders or the upcoming leaders should focus on is how to deal with people, how to make sure that people around you feel comfortable in your presence. And that comes from, especially in a professional environment, that comes from when you foster this culture of knowledge sharing. It's important that when we think about learning from each other, it's very important to know that we do this by building a foundational trust between each other. A lot of things goes when we try to explain this in details. You have to be respectful. You have to be aware of the working style of the people. You have to understand how you can basically become an owner of certain items, and how you can collaborate between people. So it's important for you to basically build trust and make sure that you foster this culture of ownership within the team. So that's one of the advices. I would say one of the few advices that I have in mind. Another one is, like I said, problem framing. That is something that has challenged me a lot when it comes to explaining things to a broader audience who sometimes doesn't have context. How would a leader will do it? When I heard senior people in my team explaining problems, it was enlightening. I have never really tried that before in my career, when I see that somebody can basically deconstruct the problem and then put it together in simple words and explain it in a way that you just juice up everything and present it in a very simple sentence. So problem framing is something that I would encourage leaders to learn. It's not an easy thing. Again, it will take time. It's kind of a skill in that basically most leaders adopt. If you listen to any popular leader, they will bring the problem and explain it to you in the most simplest words. So that is something I would definitely encourage the upcoming leaders. And even somebody who's not a leader, people who are coming into industry, they should practice this. So that more often, how to define a problem, how to deconstruct a problem and frame it properly. Something that I have faced difficulty as a junior leader is how to deal or how to work with your colleagues who are senior and more expert. So I was a manager, and I worked with my colleagues who were like over 10 years more experience, 15 years more experience than me. And I was not sure that how do I navigate this situation. Sometimes I don't know the details, but I still have to present them to the stakeholders. And when I try to seek details, they were very technical in detail. And then I have to make it more simplified version of it, which sometimes being very frustrating. But it's a part of the job. You have to keep your people your team members comfortable. You cannot demand everything from them. And that is a part of respect that that you also have to step up, and you have to change the game where you're not only comfortable explaining the problems, but also dealing with the details, inside the problem. So you have to be pretty plugged in both the directions, technical and non-technical. I would say that try to learn how you can work well with your seniors and experts in the team, because they don't want you to be in dark, and you do not try to hide any information from them. But in the end, everyone is trying to, fumble in the dark and try to get the switch that can light up the room. So it's a two-way thing. Sometimes lead to micromanagement, and I have tried to restrain myself from that kind of activity. And I realized that it's very important that I deal with this and learn how to work with the experts who knows more, because it's my responsibility at one end to take care of them, but also share information with the stakeholders group. Yeah, I think that sums up everything.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of failing. And that applies to not only you, but people in your team. You create that culture that promotes risk-taking. The risk-taking appetite in a team, if it is high, you are sent person towards this path of making a high-performance team. I think that's very important. And reaching there needs a lot of head start. I think we can speak about an hour doing that, how to build a high performance team. But trust yourself, trust the process. Sometimes it's just the test of time. You just have to know that everything that you are doing in your capacity towards the goals that you want to achieve is true to your heart, and work with it, you will succeed.
But I mean, that's a lovely sentence to end with and valuable lessons. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Gemma. Just the last note that some time back somebody told me, and I don't remember who, but it stayed with me for a very long time, that sometimes it happens that when you're trying to achieve your goals, and like I said, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and it's a test of time. So you might question yourself. And somebody told me when I was questioning myself, am I on the right path? They told that person in the mirror is much more capable than you think you are. So that has stayed with me for a very long time. And I think it's most people believe in what I say, but it's only you who stand against your growth, So trust yourself, trust the process, and things will happen. You don't have to do anything extra.